Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to introduce my family. You know, funny enough, my dad came this morning with my old foundation uniform, and if he had brought the belt and the tie, I might have actually worn it because it's so nostalgic to be here and to see the old uniform and the assembly hall. You know, so many things have changed, but so many things still remain the same. And the spirit that I feel walking in here is the spirit that I thrived on and that I have so many fond memories of being here at Foundation. So thank you for having me, Mr. Cumberbatch and Mr. Strong. Thank you for facilitating and just allowing me to come in and say a few words. First of all, I'd like to introduce my family. It all started with my parents, Hubert and Jeannie Williams, and my brother, Hubert Williams Jr., who was my co-conspirator here and co-head boy, and we still are extremely close and very blessed because we have our three kids, my son Mark, and then Hubert's sons Lucas and Jacob, Hubert's wife Evandra, and then my husband here, Dr. Charles Anderson, and then visiting with us from Guyana is my mom's brother and my uncle, Cyril King Jr. So thank you once again for welcoming us, and we're so enthusiastic to be here. I just wanted to take a moment to share one of the things that I was really thinking and reflecting on was how Foundation has placed me in a position to be able to do and to be who I am today. And my first real, I think, poignant and vivid memory of the power of being here at Foundation School was when I was in third form. When I was in second form, I had decided I wanted to be a doctor because one of the students in my class, Shirley Thorpe, her earrings had pulled out and she was bleeding, and as everyone was scattering, I was the one moving towards her to help her. And it was at that moment that I knew that I wanted to help people and I wanted to be a doctor. So when I got to third form and did all the research, by that time, and many of you will not know this or you may know this, but part of the history of Foundation is that we had an all-girls school and an all-boys school. So I was at the all-girls school and decided that I wanted to do medicine. And when I did the research to figure out, looking at Mona at the University of the West Indies, one of the subjects that we needed to do medicine was physics. And physics was not offered at the girls' school for some reason, and that's part of one of the things that I'm working diligently to create a different perception about what girls need and what girls are capable of. But at that time, there was a thought that girls didn't need to do physics. And so because of the flexibility and because of the teachers, the structure, my parents, who wanted to equip me with everything that I needed to succeed, the arrangement was made that I would join my brother's class in fourth form at the all-boys section of the school. And at that time when I entered the class, I was the only girl, and two other girls, Ione and Sonia Roberts, joined the class shortly after. But that created this expectation that I would not be limited by anything. Just because physics was not offered at the girls' school did not mean that that should limit me, and arrangements were made to be able to allow me to do what I needed to do. And so fast forward, when I went to Johns Hopkins University as a biophysics major, and I knew still I was going to do medicine, and I went to the pre-med advisor because when as many of you would begin to, as you find out when you want to go to college, if you want to go to college in the United States, if you're going as a foreign student, there are lots, you go on a visa and you have to figure out how you're going to pay for it. But one of the things that was special to foreign students was that it was not very easy to get into an American medical school. And so I went to my pre-med advisor to say, I want to go to an American medical school, and I am a foreign student. What do I need to do that? And because I had come from Foundation where I was not limited, if something was not available for me in one place, they found it for me someplace else. When I got there and I said, well, I want to be a medical student, how will I do that? What she said to me is that you will not get into an American medical school, so you should plan when you graduate from Johns Hopkins University to go back to the Caribbean to medical school. And I had never heard that because no one had ever told me that I could not. I was shocked. However, because of the foundation that was started here, where I knew that there were no limits to what I could do, I did not believe her. I never went back to see her. I did not elect to continue with her as an advisor, because clearly she was not someone who was there to support me and to support my endeavors. And I went back to her 3 years later when I had gotten into every single medical school that I applied to in the country to say that this is what I have done, not because I wanted to boast about it, but because I wanted to let her know that there are no limits, and that when someone comes to you wanting to do something that seems impossible, your role is to figure out how that happens. And that's what happens here at Foundation. And I could almost name every single teacher that taught me in the 5 or 6 years that I was here, because the thing that is so special about Foundation, and I'm sure about many of the other schools, and we went to Harrison College afterwards and had a very similar experience, but of course we were at Foundation for a much longer period of time, was that the teachers here know you all by name. They're invested in you. They want you to succeed. They just don't care about the fact that you're getting high marks on a test, but they want you to be the best that you can be. And even though we live in this instant age of Twitter and the internet and Facebook and Google, where it seems as if everything is our fingertips, there is no substitute for hard work and for dedication. Once you have your education, no one can take it away from you. And even though it seems as if we live in a world of this instant gratification, the fact is that education and doing your work requires a daily commitment and a daily discipline. There is no substitute for that. And so if there's one message that I would want to leave you with, is that keep working hard. Your teachers are here to support you, they're here to empower you, and to really make your journey here count, because this is what sets you up for the rest of your life. It did that for me, and I can stand tall, figuratively, because many people will say to me, oh, but you're so tiny. But your mind, who you are in your mind, is what counts. And so I can stand tall with anyone and go toe-to-toe with anyone, because I am confident that the foundation that was set for me here serves me for the rest of my life in everything that I do. And so I encourage you all to grasp hold of it, to not let it go, to be actually so thankful and to understand the jewel that you have here, and to make it something so that when you leave here, that you have gotten every single possible ounce of what you can get out of your experience here at Foundation, that you make sure that you capitalize on it all. And so thank you very much for inviting us. I don't know, Hubert, I don't know if you want to say a quick 2 words, given that, no? You good? Okay, and I don't believe I probably have time for questions. I don't know, is that possible, Mr. Cumberbatch, Principal Cumberbatch? No? Is there anyone that has a burning question that they would like to ask? All of you smart, thinking, academics, curious. Remember, science is about asking a question. I'm all about science, technology, engineering, and math. A part of being good in science is always asking a question, always figuring out, anticipating, predicting. What if? How did you do? Why can't you do so? Yes, sir. What is your name? All right. You, wonderful. What is your question? You go ahead. Don't let. And that's the other thing. Do not let what other people think or say to limit you have any bearing on what you do. So you stand out, you be proud that you, out of everyone, have raised your hand, and you should be proud of that. Absolutely. You always want to stand out. You don't want to follow the crowd, you want to be a leader, and you want to be a pioneer. And if everyone else is doing something else, but you know what you need to do, then be confident and do that thing. All right, so I'm listening. What is your question? No question is too simple. No question is ever stupid. Come up. To the mic so everyone can hear you.
What did you study?
While I was here or at the university? Medicine. Very good. Okay, what is your name? What is your name? So Vani's asked a very good question. He wanted to know, what did I study? So when I was here in preparation for doing medicine, so when I was here at Foundation, I did for O levels, all the sciences, so physics, chemistry, biology, math, then I did geography, English literature, and social studies. I think I did 8 subjects. And then we went on to Harrison College. My brother did the languages, so he did sciences plus French and Latin. And then I went on to Harrison College, where I did A levels, physics, chemistry, and math. And then I went, and then the general paper. And then I went to Johns Hopkins University, where I was a biophysics major. One of the very few black women who have graduated as a biophysics major from Johns Hopkins, certainly at that time. And then I went on to Harvard for medical school, and in medical school, so I did 4 years of college at Johns Hopkins, and in medical school at Harvard, I did the first 2 years where we just do everything, and then in the second 2 years, we did our different, what we call rotations, so things that we learn on the job training about how you learn, about what being a doctor involves, what the different specialties are like. And it was during my 3rd year of medical school that I realized that I really loved surgery. I went into the operating room, I loved working with my hands, I loved identifying a problem and then figuring out how to solve it. And so the multiple techniques of being in an operating room and using, whether it's the robot, whether it's the laparoscope, whether it's actually cutting someone open, and having that entrusted to you, that is an incredible privilege. So for all of those of you who are thinking that you might want to do medicine, it's an honor and a privilege to have someone's life in your hands and have God be able to give you the talent and the gift to be able to heal. So it's a gift of healing. And so after that 3rd year, knowing that I wanted to be a surgeon, once I graduated from medical school, I did a master's in public health, because one of my missions is, how do I make a difference for large populations? Not just how do I cure one person at a time, but how do I educate? How do I help people to take care of themselves so that they are less likely to get ill? How do I help people to care for themselves when they're ill, so that decisions like being healthy and getting exercise and not smoking, those are all health choices that, as someone who does public health, I am trying to communicate. And so I then, after medical school and that year of public health, which was 5 years, I then went on to do 6 years of surgical training. Because if you're going to have someone cut into you to take out your appendix, you don't want the first time they're actually doing an operation of an appendix to be you. You actually want them to have trained for a long time, so it's like riding a bicycle. They can do it in their sleep. And so that's why training in surgery takes such a long time, because you have to make sure that you are very, very, very good at what you do, because someone's life is in your hands. So that's the short version of my training. Yes, sir.
You need physics. Don't break the mic. Don't break the mic. You need physics to do medicine.
You need physics to do medicine.
So the question,
so not just
what's the question? What's the question?
The question is, do you need physics to be a surgeon? And you need physics to do medicine, because so much of medicine, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, it's not just biology, it's really understanding there's a lot of physics involved, there's a lot of technology involved. How the body works is a combination of biology, the electrical system, it's all physics. And so an understanding of all of the sciences, chemistry, when we think about pharmacology, the drugs that you use are all chemistry. And so you have to have a good command of the sciences in order to do medicine, yes. There's a young lady, yes, sir, ma'am. What is your name? How long did you do college for? Okay, college in the US is 4 years, so I did college for 4 years. Any other questions? Okay, where are my girls? Where are the girls? Come on, I want to see the girls as well as the boys. I want you to use your voice. Okay, come on up, young man. So what's your name? know what's biophysics. And once again, it's that integration of biology and physics, especially it applies to doing anything that's sort of technical, that applies to how the biological systems function. So it's a combination of biology and physics, and we use it in any type of design related to equipment for heart transplants, heart pumps. They use it in space in terms of how you're integrating systems that work for the guys that are going, the astronauts that are going into space. Is how do you keep them alive? So it's this combination of biology and physics. So it has wide applications in many, many different industries. So anything that involves the sort of a biologic function and the physics of how do you make that biological function work in other arenas, machinery, technology, travel, etc., etc. Research. Anyone else? Are you guys? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, come. Yes, what's your name? Are there any other questions? And I'm sure I am not hearing you guys saying no, because this is an opportunity for you to learn. And whenever there's an opportunity for you to learn, I want you guys to embrace it. Okay, I can almost guarantee you, I want you all to listen to me carefully. I would like you all to listen to me carefully. I can guarantee you that you will not meet another person like me in a long time. Coming from foundation and doing what I'm doing now, and all of you, and that is not to diminish anyone else's accomplishment. We each have our own set of gifts. We each have our own set of skills, and each one of you will go on to do incredible things. There are foundation alumni who are doing incredible things, but I can guarantee you that there's no one else that looks like me, similarly to which there is no one else that's going to look like you guys when you get ready to do what you want to do. So always take the opportunity, because you never know what you can gain and what insights you can derive from listening to someone say and speak about something that you've never heard about. So I want you all, this is part of your training. This is part of what foundation is about. Okay, is learning. Yes, ma'am.
So how do you get funds for this school?
Okay, so very good question. So very practical. How do you get the money to pay for going off to college, whether it's here, in England, in the United States? Now, many of you, first of all, know that the Barbados has a wonderful scholarship system, which is another reason to work extremely hard so that you can have scholarships available through the Barbados through your accomplishments. There are also multiple loans available through the Barbados revolving loan system, so that those are opportunities in terms of how you can get the funds to invest in your education. I was blessed that my parents were able to substantially support and pay for our education. And then we had, when I got to Harvard and Hopkins, we also had some scholarship and loans, so a combination of a huge investment on my parents' part and then other loans available through the schools. Yes? He wants to know, have I ever done a kidney transplant? And the answer to that is yes. So during, the type of surgeon that I am, I'm a urologic surgeon, so that means that I take care of anything related to the kidneys, the bladder, the entire genital tract, so anything that has to do with how you produce urine, and anything that has to do with your pelvic floor support and your pelvic floor, that's the type of surgery that I do. So yes, during my training, I did do kidney transplants, and I've even gone, when you have a transplant, you can get it in a number of ways. You can have someone donate a kidney to you, in which case we're in 2 operating rooms where we're taking the kidney out of one person and then putting it into the other person. Or you could do a cadaveric transplant where someone unfortunately has passed, and because of their passing, they have donated their organs to bless someone else, and you can use that kidney. So you would have to go fly to wherever that person is, take the kidney out of them, and then bring it back to the hospital where you're going to do the transplant. Yes? Absolutely. So the first thing is how long totally did I study? And so after I left Harrison College, I studied for 15 years before I was able to then say that I was a fully qualified urologic surgeon. So it's a long haul. The other question is, apart from the pre-med advisor, did I encounter anyone who had negative attitudes towards or who said that I cannot? And the answer is absolutely. I cannot even list the number of times, even now, that I still encounter people who say that I can't do something or who have a very negative impression of who I am, just based on how you look. But guess what? I have the internal power. I have the internal fortitude. No one else's opinion, negative opinion of me, defines who I am. I want you guys to listen to this very carefully. No one else's opinion of you, a negative opinion, defines who you are. You can choose. You choose to listen. You choose to listen to the people who are going to pour in positive feedback. You choose to listen to the people who are going to give you constructive input. Now, it is not to say that there are not going to be times when someone is going to say to you, you're going down the wrong path, you need to make some adjustments. But when that comes from a place of love and concern, you develop the wisdom and discernment to know that when someone is saying something to you, then it's because they have your own good in mind, because they want what's best for you. That is very different from someone who says to you something that you cannot do just because they are trying to derail you, they're trying to discourage you, they're trying to make you believe that you are less than. No one has that power over you. And if you can internalize that and you believe that you make a choice every day. Do you listen to the negative? Do you embrace the negative? Or do you embrace the positive and the positive view of who you are and what you're capable of? But believing that you can do anything is not a mindless and is not a frivolous and an empty thought. It has to be followed by hard work. It has to be followed by discipline. It has to be followed by perseverance. Everything that you attempt the first time is not going to necessarily be successful. The road to success is paved with failures. And if you see a failure, meaning that you did not accomplish that particular goal, as a setup for how do you actually figure out what it is that you need to change or improve upon to get to your final goal, the role of failure is that you will then develop the skills and whatever the resilience that you need to be successful. So never be discouraged when something the first time you don't accomplish what it is that you've set out to do. Just know and use it as an opportunity that there's more preparation required and that you're developing some character traits of resilience and persistence and perseverance. If everything was easy, when you get to the hard point or the obstacle, you're not going to know how to dig deep and overcome it. So always embrace an opportunity, always embrace your lack of success or a failure as an opportunity to grow and to improve.
One more.
One more question. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so when I was at Harrison College and Foundation, what were my study habits? Well, study all the time. Our main goal at school was to develop and grow in our education, and we took pride. We had a very healthy competition in our class. Who could be first, who could be second, who would get the highest in the math. So we had a healthy competition that pushed all of us to do our very best, which meant that we spent a lot of time studying. But as you have already heard, I don't only practice medicine. I have a lot of other hobbies, I have a lot of other interests, and a lot of those things were developed here. We started the science club, we would have bake sales, we would have excursions everywhere. My brother and I, as head boy and head girl, really were able to develop our leadership skills and to plan much of many of the assemblies, etc., etc. I love to read. Was part of the track team, so I had a very varied set of interests, which meant that you don't just want to be a bookworm, you have to be a person, and part of being successful is being able to relate, to being able to build relationships. Part of being a doctor is not just about cutting and opening someone up. I have to be able to have a conversation, I have to be able to build relationships with the people around me. That's what makes my life fulfilling. And so I would never say to you that the only thing that you need to do here is to study. You must have a balanced set of interests, but at the same time your priority is to do well. So if you find that your extracurricular activities are conflicting and interfering with your ability to do your work, then that means that your extracurricular activities have to go. I used to dance with Rachel Springer, and at some point that began to take up too much of my time, and my parents said that dance has to be on hold for now, that you have your priorities of making sure that you are completely and committed and focused on your education, and if there are things that take away from that, you put it on hold, but it's just for a little while. It doesn't mean that it's put on hold forever. You can't always do everything all at once. There are times when you have to prioritize and you pick the two most important things and you focus on that, and then you have the ability to bring the other things in as you develop more and more time and the capacity to do so. Okay. Well, folks, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful time